We now have a lot more details about Fallout 76, and the reaction online has remained mixed. Plenty of people are excited about the prospect of a new Fallout game, but a lot of the information we currently know is causing some concern. What I have for you today is a whole bunch of reasons as to why you shouldn't be too worried. I started writing this script shortly after the Bethesda E3 conference. However, since then we've had multiple interviews and a no-clip documentary called The Making of Fallout 76, which gave a far more detailed look into the game, and provided a lot more reassurance that the game is really going to be great, even if it's not the traditional experience we've grown used to over the past 10 years. If you haven't watched the documentary yet, then I highly recommend you check it out, and I'll be leaving a link to it in the description. First up, let's address the multiplayer aspect. Yes, the game is going to be an online-only experience. You'll be in a world where the other Vault Dwellers from Vault 76 will be actual players. There appears to be both co-op and PvP elements to the game. Despite this, we have been told that you can play the game on your own, so you won't be relying so much on having friends to regularly play with. Todd Howard also said that the world was going to be 4 times the size of Fallout 4, and there will be dozens, but not hundreds, of players in the game. We're given an even better idea of player counts in the no-clip documentary, where it's referenced that the maps will contain 24 to 32 players. This means that you won't be constantly bumping into other people, and might even have entire gaming sessions where you don't run into another player. Let's say you want to play entirely on your own, and are worried that this will put you at a huge disadvantage. Well, you do have a point. The game is likely going to be much easier to get through playing it in a cooperative manner, as opposed to a solo experience. However, we do get to see that the Lone Wanderer perk has made its way into the game. By selecting this perk, you can give yourself a bit of an edge if you do decide you want to travel alone. Back in Fallout 4, this perk was incredibly powerful, and we see that it's going for a similar effect in Fallout 76. We see just from the first rank that players can get an increased action point refresh speed and gain a percentage-based damage reduction, which is really strong for a perk to have. Despite this, I would recommend playing the game with friends if you can. As I'm writing this script, I've been speaking to friends and content creators over Discord and Twitter about grouping up in the game and playing together, because it will be just so much fun to be able to have a shared Fallout experience. I am so looking forward to making my own faction in Fallout 76. Bad Company will be coming to the game, and I'm hoping that all of you who play the game are looking forward to having the chance to play together, all under the same banner. Although we don't know the exact specifics of player versus player combat, we have heard several times that Bethesda wants to make sure that players don't get griefed. There is some sort of wanted level or bounty system in place in order to restrict just how much other players can negatively interfere with you. The specifics haven't really been touched on and are being kept very close to the chest. I feel this is likely because this is one element that BGS will want to tweak over time, in accordance with how fans play the game. If there's a problem with the system, they'll be looking to change it. And just from the beta, they're likely to edit how the restrictions work. From what we saw in the E3 footage, it looks like there is a bounty placed on the head of anyone who kills other players, meaning that anyone who goes full psycho mode will likely have people hunting them down. The game isn't going to be perfect when it first launches, but the phrase games as a service has been used multiple times when talking about Fallout 76, as the Bethesda team are planning on rolling out tons of free updates. This is something else great about the game. We've been told we're going to be getting free updates for years to come, and the microtransactions in-game are all purely cosmetic, and can be earned instead of bought. In my personal opinion, this is the best way to monetize any game, as nobody is getting left behind, but there's still the opportunity to give additional support to the company in order to make the game more successful. In regards to the continued support over many years, they've mentioned that mods and completely solo games aren't going to be available at launch, but will be coming in time. Private servers with mods available will be a thing at some point, so all of you who live to mod will be able to do that. You just have to wait a little while first. If you only play games when they're heavily modded, then you may want to hold off buying the game until it's at a point where mod support is a thing. There's no need to pre-order the game unless you're desperate to play it day one. I'm also going to briefly touch on the whole being able to launch nuclear missiles information that we were given. Straight up, it's clear that there's not going to be nukes going off every 5 seconds. We're told it will take multiple keycards to be able to get access to the warheads, and the in-game footage shows the players to be all above level 50. indicating that it will likely be a real challenge or possibly even level gated. When we see the nuke being targeted, it's set on a name location, and this could well mean we can only target specific locations, which would help to prevent people using the nukes as specific offensive PvP weapons. Additionally, we don't know if the nuclear strike is instantaneous. There could possibly be a warning sent out to all players in the blast radius, giving them time to leave the area before the nuke drops. We've also heard that the nukes are part of the Endgame system, and appear to be a way to deal with the Scorch Beasts. This means that we're likely supposed to use the nukes in a particular way, and the best rewards come from doing just that. The endgame is also described as cyclical, which makes me think that the map will be reset at certain points, meaning that nuked areas may return to their default state after a certain amount of time. This would mean you could always have the chance to explore a location, and just because somebody blows it up one day, doesn't mean it won't be back in a couple of weeks' time. All of this is very much me spitballing ideas, and we likely won't know for certain how this system is going to work until we get a chance to play the game. As for the fear that your settlements will be nuked, we have been told that settlements leave the game with you, so you're not going to go to sleep, log back in, and find a smouldering ruin where your base once was. Instead, the camp seems to be designed to give you mobile settlements. You won't be rooted to one place all the time, and will instead take your base with you, being able to take your settlement to a different location. Additionally though, there will be public workshops, which sound like they'll be more what we're used to from Fallout 4. Go to a location, clear out the enemies, and claim the workshop as your own. This will help to give you a good balance between having set locations for settlements that you know you can head to, and also being able to just set up somewhere for the night, and have a relatively safe location for a short amount of time. I feel like this is a great way to do the settlement system in a multiplayer game, as it gives a good balance. You can work on the co-op mega fortress, but it's not going to be a hindrance to other players, as it can't just be everywhere and anywhere on the map. You also aren't restricted to a certain location though, as you can make a smaller settlement to just help with your basic needs. I know I'm essentially repeating myself a bit here, but I'm stupidly excited for this. It's just the best way I can think to do settlements. We know for a fact that there's a main story to the game, as well as additional quests. For a moment though, I'd like to focus on the other in-game activities. What I imagine will be the least popular is the talk of a 12v12 team deathmatch. I personally am fine with this. I enjoy my multiplayer FPS games, so I'm down with this being a side mode to the game. I doubt this will ever be a focal point, so I don't think anyone needs to worry about it too much. I also don't think it's going to be in the game at launch, but I'll be interested to see what they do with the ideas, as I can see it being a good way to let players get the rage killing out of their system, without trying to grief people in the main game. The side activity that interests me the most though, are the hints towards raids or something similar. We know that stronger monsters give better item and resource drops, and that the team have been working hard on co-op focused fights. From the gameplay footage we see teams of players going up against single large enemies. I'm guessing that we haven't seen the strongest monsters in action yet though. I expect there will be some incredibly tough team challenge fights some point down the line, that grant excellent rewards. Raids and similar challenges would be great, both for encouraging teamwork and also providing a good sense of achievement to players. Take down a legendary godlike Scorch Beast, and it will be a moment to remember. Take it down with your friends, and it will be a shared experience, and a talking point for all of you. Maybe you're not big into combat though. You like Fallout for charisma-based activities. Well, we've heard as well that there might be the opportunity to sell items to other players. Become great at a particular crafting system, and you can essentially treat yourself as a merchant, focusing entirely on making gear for other players, and having them pay a hefty price for being the best at making all of the items. You can also have multiple characters, and within a team could have set roles. I've already been daydreaming about being the leader of a squad of mercenaries. We'll travel around the wastes, me as the point man and leader, a medic and an armour specialist at my side, and with our sniper buddy covering us from up high. Just think about how cool it would be having all of your friends hold specialised roles that turn you into an efficient and utterly badass team. The more I add to this script, the more excited I get for the game, as so many of the small details we've been hearing about could prove to make this game an utterly amazing shared world experience that very few games have come close to in the past. As my penultimate point, I want to touch on storytelling. As this isn't the standard single-player RPG, quests, factions, and the plot in general aren't going to be the same as what we normally have. We have been told that there are quests, and we do actually see interactions with NPCs, although this is something everyone seems to be overlooking. In the footage from the vault, we see multiple Mr. Handy robots who interact with us, as well as the voice of the Overseer, who we are told will be sending us into all 6 districts. Just because all the vault dwellers are real players, that doesn't mean there's nobody left to interact with. Robots, ghouls, and creatures unknown could all potentially be friendly, and have missions for us to complete. I think that the references to NPCs are all purely talking about those of the human variety, but humans aren't the only intelligent species in the Fallout universe. Todd Howard has even mentioned now in interviews that we will get the story from terminals, holotapes, and robots, which reinforces the fact that there's still going to be a healthy dose of guided storytelling to the game. Even without talking to actual characters, a lot of the storytelling in the Fallout games comes from the setting and in-game items. Not only do we have visual stories, but terminals and notes have always been a big way to get across exposition or information in the games. We don't need huge populations of people in order for a story to be told. If anything, it could help with making the narrative of the game more interesting, as it won't be as much of a by-the-numbers plot that we've seen time and time again. Instead, it can help to give you more freedom by not constantly having a new quest thrown at you every 10 minutes. I personally find that it's the locations and monsters of the Fallout universe that have the most story to them, and this will certainly be the case in 76. A large number of creatures in the game are based off of West Virginian folklore, which already gives them rich backstories, even before it gets to the justification of what they're doing in the world. We don't know much about the in-game locations in Fallout 76, but on one of the parts of the map we've been able to see there's a location listed as Vault-Tec University. With a name like that, you can bet there's going to be some real interesting terminals to read inside, and I guarantee I'll be keeping my eyes peeled for when I stumble across the location in-game. I'm sure that even at this point, plenty of you still think the game won't be what you want. And you know what? You may well be right. Fallout 76 is not Fallout 5. This is an offshoot game, not part of the main series. It's something different and new, and because of that, a lot of people won't like it. Plenty of people hate Fallout 4 or Fallout 3, but they're still great games in my eyes. Opinions are subjective, and it's okay if this doesn't end up being the right game for you. Other games are out there, and there will be more games made in the future that you're going to love. Games aren't made to satisfy the every wish of an individual, and they never will be able to. That's just not the way it works. If you don't want to stray away from the old Bethesda games, then you don't have to. They're still there for you to play. But if you want to experience something new, then Bethesda is giving that to you. I can honestly say that I'd rather have Fallout 5 than Fallout 76, but that's not what we've got, and I'm just happy that there's a new Fallout game coming out so close to the last one. Regardless of how Fallout 76 turns out, I'm going to be playing it, and giving my honest thoughts on the game, as and when I get access to it. If you want to hear my opinion on the game, and gain additional information about it, then I recommend subscribing to the channel, and clicking on the notification bell to increase your chances of seeing the videos I release. That's all for this video. Sarge out.